I left everything behind to start over in a mountain town. I didn't expect her to show up with a toolbox and change everything. If you told me 2 years ago that I'd meet the love of my life because I nearly drowned my own kitchen, I'd have laughed in your face. Then again, a lot had changed since I left the city. At 32, I had burned myself out working 60-hour weeks at a tech company that pretended to care about mental health while throwing pizza parties instead of giving real days off. I wasn't fired, I just stopped showing up. I sent a resignation email at 3 a.m. after staring at a blinking cursor for 2 hours and realizing I couldn't remember the last time I was happy. So I packed my stuff, sublet my overpriced apartment, and rented a beat-up cabin in a mountain town I picked basically at random. It was a fixer-upper, emphasis on the fixer. The walls creaked. The fireplace didn't work. The plumbing was older than me. But it was quiet, and after years of noise, I needed that. The locals were friendly enough, small-town friendly, the kind that's polite but doesn't pry. I liked it. No one cared what I used to do, and I didn't have to pretend to be some overachiever anymore. I chopped wood, took walks, burned my tongue on way too much gas station coffee. I was getting into a rhythm until the pipe burst. It happened on a Thursday morning, just as I was starting to feel like I had a handle on things. 1 minute I was brushing my teeth, and the next the bathroom sink exploded like it was personally offended by me. Water gushed everywhere. I panicked and did what any former desk jockey would do, tried to Google it. 30 minutes later I was soaked, angry, and had managed to crack the pipe even more. That's when I remembered the old guy who rented me the place had left a magnet on the fridge with a local handyman's number. Or, in this case, handywoman. Lena. She showed up an hour later, toolbox in one hand, thermos in the other. She looked like someone who could out-hike me blindfolded. Worn jeans, flannel shirt, long braid pulled through the back of a trucker hat. And this very unimpressed expression, like she'd seen my kind 100 times and wasn't expecting much. "You the city guy?" she asked, stepping over the threshold like she already owned the place. I nodded, still barefoot and damp, holding a roll of duct tape like it was a lifeline. "I think I made it worse." She didn't even flinch. "You did, and that's how it started." She fixed the pipe in less than 20 minutes, told me I was lucky the leak hadn't hit the electrical. Then she rinsed her hands in the sink like nothing had happened and asked if I knew how to winterize the water heater. I didn't, so she wrote it down on a sticky note, stuck it on my fridge, and left. No small talk, no smile, just gone. I spent the rest of the day thinking about her, not in a romantic way, at least not yet, more like curiosity. She was so matter-of-fact, confident, zero patience for nonsense. After years of fake smiles and office politics, it was weirdly refreshing. She showed up again 2 weeks later, this time to replace a busted heater I'd barely noticed wasn't working right. Apparently, she'd checked in with the landlord, who asked her to stop by. I offered her coffee. She said no, but then helped herself anyway when she realized I had the good stuff. We sat on the back porch after she finished, both sipping coffee and staring at the mountains. "You always this quiet?" she asked. "Only when I'm happy." She raised an eyebrow. "You happy?" I thought about it. Getting there. That was the first time she smiled at me. Just a twitch of the corner of her mouth, but I noticed. Over the next few months, we started seeing each other more, always under the guise of maintenance. Broken gutter, drafty window, slanted porch step. She never stayed long, but she always came back. And slowly, we started talking. About dumb things at first. How the bakery downtown burned their croissants, how tourists clogged the trails in summer. But then she told me about her dogs, 2 rescue mutts she adored, even though one of them chewed through her truck seat. I told her about my old job and how I hated that it became my identity. She didn't judge me, just listened. There was something so easy about being around her. Like I didn't have to prove anything. One night, I made the mistake of trying to fix a shelf by myself. The whole thing collapsed, sending my books everywhere and cracking the corner of a table. I texted her a photo with the caption, "R.I.P. Literature." 10 minutes later, she was knocking on my door. She didn't even ask what happened. Just walked in, grabbed her toolkit, and started fixing it. We ended up staying up until midnight, talking about ghost stories and old campfire tales. She told me about a local legend involving a haunted outhouse, which made me laugh so hard I spilled tea all over the floor. I noticed then, in the middle of her story, that her hands were calloused and strong, but her laugh was soft. And maybe I looked at her a little too long. Because she suddenly stopped talking and stared at me, expression unreadable. "You've got a weird look on your face," she said. I was just thinking you're kinda amazing. That was the first time I saw her blush. She didn't kiss me that night. I didn't kiss her either. But something shifted between us. After that night, the one with the busted shelf, ghost stories, and that unspoken something, I couldn't stop thinking about Lena. Not in the way you think. Not some rom-com head-over-heels, flowers and songs kind of way. It was quieter than that. Deeper. Like I started noticing things about her I hadn't before. The way she always tapped twice on the door before coming in. How she muttered to herself when she was concentrating. How she made everything feel solid. Like the chaos in my head didn't stand a chance around her. But we didn't talk about it. Whatever it was. Instead, things just continued. We hung out more. She taught me how to fix a leak properly. I helped her repaint her garage one weekend, even though I ended up with more paint on me than the walls. We fell into a rhythm, and I didn't want to ruin it. One day I found myself waiting by the window just to see her truck pull up. That's when I knew I was in deep. But Lena? Lena was still impossible to read. Sometimes she'd lean into the silence like it was home. Other times she'd laugh so hard she snorted. Then go totally serious 2 seconds later. I tried to look for signs, anything that might tell me she felt the same. But Lena wasn't the type to show her cards, so I decided to just be patient. Then came the snowstorm. It hit early, mid-November, and way harder than anyone expected. Power lines down, roads iced over. I had firewood, but no clue how to get the generator running. I was texting the landlord when someone banged on the door. Lena. She was bundled up in 3 layers and already tracking snow into the cabin by the time I opened the door. "You still don't have a generator hookup, do you?" she asked. I shook my head. I was gonna figure it out. Yeah, and I was gonna win the lottery. She dropped her bag near the door. "Move. I'm staying here until the road's clear." I blinked. "You're what now?" "You're helpless. You don't even have enough canned food. And if you think I'm letting you freeze to death, just so you can keep pretending you've got your life together, you're dumber than I thought." And just like that, Lena moved in for the weekend. It was both chaotic and kind of perfect. We played cards by candlelight, cooked pasta on a tiny gas stove, read books out loud to each other under layers of blankets, like kids at a sleepover. The first night she fell asleep on the couch with one of my old hoodies pulled over her head, and I sat there watching her snore for way too long. The second night we shared the bed. Not like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. She crawled in without saying a word and pulled the covers up to her chin. I stayed on my side, but we lay there, backs almost touching in the kind of silence that buzzes. "Do you miss it?" she asked after a while. I turned my head toward her. "Miss what?" "The city. Your old life. All of it." I thought about it for a second. The skyline. The noise. The stupid job titles. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who didn't know you. "No," I said. "Not even a little." She was quiet for a long time. I figured she'd fallen asleep. But then I heard her whisper, barely loud enough to catch it. "Good." The next morning she made coffee and stole my last pair of clean socks. I didn't even care. When the snow finally melted and the roads opened up, she packed her things and said, "See you around, city boy." Like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. After that weekend, it was different. We didn't talk about the bed sharing, or the whispered good, or the fact that I hadn't stopped thinking about kissing her since the storm ended. But it hung there between us, like a breath waiting to be exhaled. Then came the cabin fire. Okay, that sounds dramatic. It was a chimney flare-up, not some raging inferno. But I panicked anyway, and called Lena before I even thought about the fire department. She arrived in under 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. I swear her truck had wings. She barreled in with a fire extinguisher and a stare that could cut granite. "What did you do?" "I lit a fire," I said, like a normal person. "You used pine wood. It sparks. Rookie mistake." She sighed, then doused the flames and glared at me. "You're lucky the place didn't go up." And then she did something I didn't expect. She walked right up to me, grabbed my shirt, and kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't sweet. It was fire and fury and months of tension poured into 1 second. When she finally pulled back, I was breathless. She didn't say anything, just stared at me like she was waiting for me to laugh or run or ruin it. I didn't. I kissed her back. That night she stayed over again. No storm this time. No busted heater or broken shelf. Just us, finally on the same page. And when I woke up, she was still there, snoring, drooling on my pillow. God, I was gone. After that first kiss, after Lena stayed, after we woke up tangled in sheets and morning light, things didn't magically transform into some Hallmark movie. No, we didn't skip into town holding hands while birds sang and fireworks exploded behind us. We went back to us. Quiet mornings with coffee and sarcasm. Hikes where she always outpaced me but slowed down anyway. Movie nights where we'd argue over the plot, even though neither of us really cared. But now there was this thing between us. A comfort. A closeness. That you're my person kind of feeling I didn't realize I'd been searching for. Still, Lena kept one foot out the door. Not literally. But emotionally, yeah. She never said the big words. Never called me her boyfriend. Never brought up the future. And for a while, I didn't push. I was just happy being in her orbit. But time has a way of nudging you toward hard conversations. It started with something small. We were at the diner one Saturday morning, and the waitress, Dot, who's basically the town's nosy grandma, said, "You two are real cute. You ever think about settling down?" I laughed. Lena didn't. She changed the subject so fast it gave me whiplash. Later, as we were walking back to the truck, I said, "You know she was just joking, right?" Lena shrugged. People joke when they mean something. There was a pause. Then she added, "I'm not great at that stuff." "What stuff?" "The whole stay forever thing." I nodded slowly, heart doing a weird little skip. "You're staying now, though." She looked up at me, and for the first time in a while, I saw fear in her eyes. Not because she was scared of me, but scared of letting herself hope. So I said it. "Lena, I love you." Just like that. No build-up. No pressure. And she froze. Didn't say it back. Just stared at me like I'd handed her a grenade with the pin pulled. "I know," I added quickly. "You don't have to say it back. I just wanted you to know." She stayed quiet. The whole drive home. I'll be real. I didn't sleep much that night. But the next morning, I woke up to the smell of pancakes. Lena in my hoodie. 2 mugs of coffee on the table. She sat down next to me, flipped open her phone, and casually said, "So, want to look at property listings with me?" I blinked. "Property listings?" She grinned. "Well, if I'm going to stay, we might as well find a place that doesn't try to set itself on fire every other month." And that was Lena's way of saying, "I love you." We didn't get rings or have some grand proposal. We bought a fixer-upper together, right down the road from the cabin. She kept her dogs. I kept my coffee addiction. We turned the spare room into an art studio for her, and a tiny office for me. There were fights, sure. Like when I forgot to label the paint cans, and she accidentally turned the bathroom floor neon green. Or when she made fun of my Spotify playlists until I made her listen to lo-fi beats for an entire week. But we kept showing up. Even when it wasn't perfect. Especially when it wasn't. Then came the night she told me about her ex. It was late. We were sitting on the porch watching the stars, wrapped in one shared blanket like teenagers. She said his name softly. Told me how he used to make her feel like she was too much. Too loud. Too tough. Too stubborn. How she'd spent years believing love had to hurt to feel real. Then she looked at me, teary-eyed, cheeks flushed, and said, "You're the first person who makes me feel like I don't have to apologize for existing." I didn't say anything. Just pulled her in and kissed her forehead. Some people fall in love fast and loud. For us, it was slow, quiet. Built like a cabin in the woods, one board at a time. Nothing flashy, but solid. The kind that doesn't fall apart when a storm hits. 1 year later, we still live in that house. Lena teaches carpentry workshops at the community center now. I freelance a little, but mostly I help her out, and finally started that side project I'd always dreamed of, writing. We have a shared calendar, matching mugs, and a no work talk at dinner rule. Lena still makes fun of me for using coasters. I still can't figure out how she always wins at Scrabble. And yeah, she says I love you now. Sometimes when she's half asleep, sometimes in the middle of arguing about takeout, and once, unexpectedly, while she was elbow deep in engine grease. It's never dramatic. It's just real.